5 of Intermediate Level 2 of the Piano Skills Foundation series of lessons. I think you pretty much know what to do on all this stuff. Just reminding you to go slower than I go on the videos. Other than that, I hope you're having a good time, and give yourself more than just a few days to learn each one of these. It's just 7 days of practice, but you can always take 14 or 21 days on each lesson. So whatever you need, don't feel like you need to rush through it. Good luck with this. So the very first thing on your list this week, our usual scale, arpeggio, cadence, and burlesque. And then this week it's in the key of G flat. Last couple lessons we had it in the key of F sharp, so we're going to use the same notes, but we're going to think of them with different names. G flat, A flat, B flat, C flat, D flat, E flat, F, G flat. Okay? And we're going to put the metronome at 100, same speed we had for the last couple. Arpeggios. Cadence. And then some burlesque. And that's it. That was your Sakba in the key of G flat. Have fun with that. All right. So now the next thing on your list are your octave scales. Let me just do a couple of them. I think we'll start with the key of B and do the key of B and the key of E. Using fourth fingers on black notes. The key of E. And so forth. If your hands can take it, you could do all of the scales that are listed here, which there are 7 different scales. If you can't handle it, just go until your hands get a little bit tired and give it a break. You could do them all, or you could just do 3 of them, or you could do however many you want. But that's it for the octave scales. So the next thing on your list, of course, the major and minor triads. We have them at 96 now, so let me put it at 96, and let's give this a try. major and minor triads. If you can't go that fast, then go a little bit slower. But whatever you do, have fun with that. All right, so your first reading exercise in lesson 5, little melody in G flat. Let's just go ahead and learn it the usual way. I'm going to start at the beginning with we're going to do the left hand first, just to be a little bit different, and the pedal. So here's how it goes. I'm going to put the metronome, as usual. You don't need to use your metronome when you first get to know a piece because it's kind of stressful, but I'm putting it there so you understand exactly where the beat is. You can always start slower than this. Left hand, 1 and 2, 3. Count the rhythm. 1 and 2 and 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2, 3 and 1. Okay, that's the left hand on the first line. Right hand counting. 1 and 2, 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and change pedal. 2, 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. Hopefully you notice that interesting fingering at the end of the line. Second finger, third finger, thumb, and then fourth finger. So we just use the thumb to sort of keep our hand in position. Anyway, work on that till you have that with the right fingering and the counting. And then, once you have both hands, try it like this. 1 and 2, 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2, 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. And there's the first line. Once you get your 3 perfects, go on to the second line. Let's do the left hand first again. Left hand, starting at measure 5. 1 and 2, 3. Change pedal. 2, 3. 1 and 2, 3. 1 and 2 and 3. Jump up. 1. Okay. Now hopefully you notice we're in the key of G flat. So whenever we have the C, like here, in measure 5, 6, 7, the C down here is actually a C flat, which we normally call B. So the chord that you see me rolling here is a C flat major chord that we normally call B major, but because we're in the key of G flat, you have to think of it differently. So hopefully you caught that and you can learn that left hand by itself. Once you get good at the left hand, right hand has a G flat to start with the fourth finger. 1 and 2, 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2, 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. Okay, so there's the right hand part, and now we're going to put the hands together. 1 and 2, 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2, 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2. Okay, I kind of left out a note on the left hand. Maybe you can go back and look at the video. I left out beat 3, but hopefully you won't do that. Do it till you get 3 perfects, and then put those first 2 lines together, these 2. Once you get that going, then we're going to go ahead and go on to the third line, measure 9. Let's do the left hand first. We're back to the G chord here. 1 and 2, 3, 1 and 2. Then jump down to a D flat chord. And 2 and 3, change, and 2, 3, 1. And that little move down to D flat, you might be able to figure out how to do it without looking at your hand. That'll make you a better music reader if you do. So work on that until you get it. Then the right hand, third finger on B flat. 1 and 2, 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. So just make sure you watch those fingerings closely. Once you get that right hand learned, both hands. 1 and 2, 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2, 3, 1 and 2, 3, 1. And once you get 3 perfect on that line, of course, put all 3 lines together, and then you can start working on the last line. Let's do the left hand first again. 1 and 2, 3, 1 and 2, 3, 1 and 2, 3, and then jump down 1. And of course, any jump of that length, you can look down at your hand while you're reading to make sure you get the right notes. Once you get the left hand learned, right hand goes like this. 1 and 2, 3, change, and 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. I did that kind of bad. Let me do it one more time. 1 and 2, 3, so that was better. Now both hands. 1 and 2, 3, 1 and 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, off. All right, so now we've done each line. Hopefully you got 3 perfect on each one. And then we can play the whole piece. I'm going to go ahead and play the whole piece at 60, and then we'll jump it up to 100 to see kind of where you would want to head with it. But here it is at 60. 1 and 2, 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2, 3 and 1 and 2, 3 and 1 and 2, 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2, 3 and 1 and 2. Okay, that was at 60. Now I'll play the whole thing up at 100 so you can hear it sounds quite a bit different at 100. 1 and 2, 3, 1 and 2 and 3 1 and 2, 3 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 So there it is. Little melody in G flat. Have fun with that. All right, so your second reading exercise in lesson 5 is dialogue in G flat. Let's go ahead and get it started with the right hand by itself on the first line. I'm going to put your metronome on so you can hear the beat solidly. If I could get my metronome on here, 60. So I'm putting the metronome to 60. You, of course, don't want to start that fast, but I want you to hear what it sounds like with the beat. So the right hand does a pickup note on the and of 4. We're going to say 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1, 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1. Okay, once you get your right hand learned, left hand. You have to stretch a little bit to your third finger on G flat from this D flat. 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1, 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1. And just a couple things about that left hand part. First, really watch the fingering here, especially in this second measure. And then when you get to these chords and they're staccato, make sure you don't pound on those. People will tend to pound too loudly on their left hand. You'll notice the way I played them nice and light. So make sure you keep those chords light and easy, okay? Now, once you get the left hand learned and the right hand learned, let's put them together like this. 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1, 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1. Okay, there's the first line. Once you get that first line learned, 3 perfect, go on to the second line. Right hand kind of starts the same way. Both hands start. There's no pickup this time, just 1, 2 and 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 and 3, 4, and then 1, 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1. So there's the right hand part. Now the left hand. 1, 2 and 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1, 2 and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Then your thumb is right there on the C flat to start the next line. Once you get that learned, put them together like this. 1, 2 and 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1, 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1. once you get your 3 perfects there, put the first 2 lines together. We're going to go ahead and work on the 3rd line with the right hand first. 1 and 2 and 3. Now watch this fingering. 4, 2 on top. 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1. Okay, so there's the right hand. The left hand starts with a thumb on C flat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1. Okay, and of course for that big jump you can glance down if you need to for both hands. Here we go with both hands, starting at measure 9. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1. All right, so now, of course, once you get your 3rd perfect, do all 3 lines. We're going to go ahead and do the 4th line, which is very similar to the 1st line, but a little bit different at the end. So let's just learn it as if it's new. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, and 2, and 3, 4. Off. Okay, once you get that right hand, learn left hand. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4, off. I'm pretty sure I just did the wrong fingering in the left hand on this part. Let's see. That was in measure 14, so hopefully you'll get the right fingering. Now we're going to do both hands. Ready? 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4, off. Okay. Now I'll go ahead and play the whole song, starting at the beginning, of course, to the end at 60. Then we'll try it all the way up at 108, which is the tempo I suggest for this one. Ready? 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 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 4. 1, 2, and 3 So now we're going to move it from 60 all the way up to 108. So after you've practiced it for a while, and this could take you a couple weeks or more, doesn't matter. You don't always have to get all the way up to the top speed. But if you do, this is what it sounds like. And 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, and 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, So that was dialogue in G flat. Have fun with that. All right, so in the piece that we've been working on for memorizing, Sonatina in C, this week we're going to learn measure 45 all the way up through, let's see, what does this say we're supposed to do? 57, which takes us to the top of the third page. Okay, so we're going to start on the middle of the second page, which is kind of right here. Well, not exactly the middle, but measure 45. I'm going to start with the pickup notes first. So let's do 2 measures starting with the right hand. And on this part, I would break it up into a 2-measure segment and then another 2-measure segment, followed by another 2-measure segment that overlaps. You'll see what I'm talking about. So we're going to do the pickup notes. Here we are, pick up to measure 45. It goes 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. Okay, and once you've got that memorized, then you do the left hand. You can sort of count the pickup, which is 2 and 1, and then the left hand comes 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. And that's all the left hand does on that part. So now let's do both hands. 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. And once you have that 2-measure segment memorized, the next 2-measure segment, we're going to go ahead and start right on it. I'm not going to start on the pickup. It would be tempting to do that, and you could do that if you'd like. I think I'm just going to start right on it. So this is at measure 44, let's see, 45, 46, 47. Ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 2 and 1. I sort of counted that wrong. I threw a 3 in there. There aren't any 3s, but you can do that correctly and get that right hand memorized. Then the left hand, after you did this, you're on your 3rd finger on C. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. Once you have that memorized, putting them together goes like this. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. Okay, and then of course, once you have these 2 and these 2 memorized, normally I'd say let's put them all together, and I guess we'd do that once with a stop, but then we have 2 more measures because this is a 5-measure segment and I want to overlap it with the next one. So let's do this once with a stop, and before we do it all the way through, we got 2 more measures to learn. So here we go. We're going to just put them together. So far you have this. 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and stop. And then from there, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and stop. Okay, so now normally that would be our phrase because we usually have 4-measure phrases, but I'm adding 2 more. 1 at the end of this plus 1 at the beginning of the next to get the transition. Sometimes you have to do odd things. So here we go. We're going to start with the first note at 49 with the right hand. I think you have your 5th finger on G. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and stop. Okay, once you have those memorized, left hand, 3rd finger's on B. 1 and 2 and 1 off on 2 and 1. And be ready for this chord. It's called a D7 chord. All right, now at measure 49 with both hands, left hand, 3rd finger, right hand, pinky on G. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. Okay, so now we have a 6-measure segment to practice. We're going to go all the way from measure 45 to measure 50, actually to the first note of measure 51, but through 50. So I'm going to put a stop on every 2-measure segment. Here we go. 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and stop. And now from there, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and stop. Now from there, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and stop. And I just want to remind you, you could be going slower than this. I just like to keep it at a tempo you can hear what's happening, but you can always go slower. Now, after we've done it all the way with stops, we're going to take the stops out. So this time, all the way from measure 45 to measure 50 with no stops. Here we go. 4 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. look at that video, I just did the wrong fingering in the left hand. I had to switch to the thumb. So hopefully you won't do that. You just get your thumb right on that C so that it's ready for that chord. But now that we've learned that section, we're going to go back one measure. Like I said, we have an overlap, and we're going to start with measure 50, doing this with the right hand by itself. It goes 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. Okay, and once you get that memorized, the left hand is 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. Okay, then we will be putting those together like this. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. Okay, now it just occurred to me, I have not been stressing the fact that you should be doing each of these segments until you get 3 perfect, but that's usual. I'm hoping that you're kind of used to that by now. So anyway, let's go ahead and do the next part after you've got 3 perfect there by memory. The right hand starting at measure 50, 51, 52. Measure 52. Got your thumb on G right hand. Watch this fingering. It's a little bit weird. It rolls a G chord. I would think of the G chord as these 2 notes, and then the next 2 notes are a 5 and a 2. So it's kind of a combination of a G chord followed by a D chord, a G chord, and a D chord. It just does it twice. Watch this. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. Okay, and the slurring on this would suggest that you're supposed to lift off after the G. I sort of messed up the slurring when I wrote it on the computer, but you're supposed to lift off of this G and this G, so that it sounds like you're sort of taking a breath. Let me do that again. It goes 1, 2, oops, sorry, I counted it wrong. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. Okay, so hopefully you understand how to do that. Get that right hand memorized. Left hand, we're going to breathe with the right hand on that G chord. You're going to go 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. And try to make that smooth when you go from the D7 to the G chord. Okay. Once you get that memorized, both hands sound like this. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. Okay, and that was the 2 measure segment there. Now I'm going to put these 4 measures together. So we're going from measure 50 all the way 51, 52, 53 through 53 to the first note of 54. Here we go. Ready? 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. Stop. And then go from there. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. And then, of course, after you've done it with the stop, take the stop out like this. And you'll do this till you get 3 perfects. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. Okay? Then, of course, after you get that, you could do your 3 perfect and then put it all together with the stuff you've already learned. I'm going to show you a little bit of that later, but let's do one more phrase, because this next phrase is sort of just a little bridge onto the section that you already know. At the top of the 3rd page, you'll see material you're familiar with from the very beginning. So all we need to link us to that is this little stretch. And this one's so simple because only the right hand plays most of it. I'm going to go ahead and go from measure 54 all the way up to measure 57 with just the right hand. And well, actually, we could just include the left hand because it just does this. And the left hand doesn't even play. So here it goes. 1, 2, and a 2 and a 1, 2 and a 1, 2, 1 and. Okay, and that's how you play the right hand on that little bridge. Do that till you get 3 perfects. I'm going to go ahead and show you the whole chunk of what we've done today, and I want to show you that you can work with your metronome already, probably after you get familiar with it. We have review that you're supposed to be doing somewhere in the area of 100, which is awfully fast for brand new material. But by the time you start the next lesson, maybe you'll be good at this part that we just learned. It would go like this at 100. I'm going to put a stop on every phrase, and then we'll do it once without stops. And this is an example of how you can be reviewing the old material. You'll do hands separately first, but then in the end, you'll do this. from there. Okay, so that's the part we just learned with stops. Now I'm going to do it one more time with no stops, and it goes like this. Okay, so that is just an example of how to work with your metronome on some of the new material or the old material. I'm not going to do any review. I did it in the last lesson to show you. After you've worked on your new material, you should hopefully have time to work on some of your old stuff the same way. Every phrase, right hand, left hand, both. And don't stop taking it apart hand separately, because that's how you keep your memory fresh on it. But you can start working with your metronome, working anywhere between 100 and 152 for the eighth note. I think that's good enough for this lesson. So hope you have fun with that. See you next time.